What's poppin', Yanko?
What's going on, Kerri? It's Friday again.
It's Friday again. It's Saturday, Sunday. What? That's a song that I absolutely hate
I
and not
know.
play because he knows how much I hate it. But for anybody and all of you out there, welcome to episode 19 of For No Particular Reason with your hosts, my amazing co-host Yankov, and I'm Kerri Lewis. And really, guys, I mean, Yanko's a hypnotist. I work with a myriad of different people, helping them reclaim, their inner juju through tons of crap. But at the end of the day, we both show up in love and as love in the world. And that's really what we hope to promote, teach, and be in this show. So we do hope that this show serves you. If you have any questions, concerns, you want us to talk about a specific topic, let us know. And then, as always, please give me feedback, give Yanko feedback, because we love it. Even if you disagree with us, we feel, absorb, and appreciate all of the energy and the time and what you bring to our lives by taking a moment to provide us with feedback. So, what's cooking with you today, Yanko?
That's what I was going to say. If you guys give us any feedback, we'll know where to take our show because we're here for you. So, like Kerri said, positive or negative, just, let's connect. Let's get some communication going. And we can also chat with you and answer questions live because we have that ability. So, but other than that, it's Friday. I'm excited. I have my Starbucks coffee, and I'm enjoying being here.
Likewise, I am pumped to be here as well. I have water, even though I really love a good Starbucks coffee, but that's okay. I'm happy with my water. And
Maybe I'll
no,
send you one next time.
hey, you know what?
Before the show.
Do you know a good friend of mine? So she is a boudoir photographer, and one day, to thank all of her clients, she sent like a code to get a coffee on her from Starbucks. I'm like, say less, sister. I'm with it. And so I enjoyed a cup of coffee, and then of course I took a picture of it with her and sent it to her. But for all of you guys, this show is called For No Particular Reason because we come up with topics on the fly, or we kind of bring up what it is we're moving through in our personal lives or while working with clients over the course of the week. So hopefully, you as the audience can gain some insights or take away key lessons and things of that nature. And so today I really want to talk about something that's been coming up for me a lot lately, which is how to stay in a place of love and how to stay in a place of positivity while people I love are moving through suffering. And it continues to be a practice and a journey, and I don't always do well being able to stay in a place of love. I fall back into fear, right? Because if I'm taking on another person's experience, it stems for me from a place of fear, not being able to control the situation, not being able to make it better. And so it's a topic I want to talk about, Yanko, and I'm curious, do you ever experience times where like maybe you know witness somebody you care about or even a stranger moving through something really challenging and you find yourself kind of falling into sadness or fear or feeling like you need to fix the situation?
All the time. Because I think we as humans and as people relate to other people, and we always want to be able to help and do a lot of work for people or be helpful in a way and guide them to whatever they are, or when you see them as something that they can see themselves be, help them see what they really are, because they're not that. There might be in a situation when they're down or something else is going on. But everything is transient. Everything goes on. It runs like water, and um, you moving from one thing to another. And so it's hard sometimes. I was just talking to somebody about it, that when you're in the hole, to be able to look outside the hole, because you really don't see anything else. Like, you have no other options. And sometimes when we try to help people, they're not ready to be helped. And it's just like that saying goes, you can bring a horse to water but you can't make it drink. So in that situation, a lot of the times you see it, and you go like, but you're not that, like, you have all those abilities, and it's like almost like you want to tell them, snap out of it, like, you know what I mean. So sometimes that's really hard to process, um, because there's other ways, um, but you just kind of hold space for that person, if I can call it that, or you just kind of sit and be like, okay, you're in the hall. I'm just gonna sit in the hall with you, and we're just gonna have a conversation, or maybe a coffee, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
But for me, so I'm going to give you a couple examples. I was working with somebody who um is Jewish, right? And when we were working together, it was when the Gaza, like the Palestinian and the Israeli conflict started. And in a conversation with this person, it was clear that they wanted me to make a judgment, right? Take a side, or even operate from fear, right? Oh my God, this is happening. And I wouldn't. I said, because what I understand from an energetic perspective, even not even going from spirituality, because I always try to give everybody, wherever you're coming from, your thought process, uh insight is, if I move to fear, then I'm operating from a level that is adding to the chaos of the world. That's just reality. And so I didn't, and I said, it's not for me to take sides. It's too big of a picture for me to even try to make a judgment. But what I can do, and I'm willing to do, is sit in this meditation chair, cultivate love, and send it to everybody over in that area of the country. I mean, in the world, and of course, others. And I was fired as a coach for that. And that's okay. Like, because I wasn't willing to come off that stance, because I know that to be able to stay in love is paramount for the wellness of myself, my mental, my physical, my energetic self, the wellness of the people who I immerse myself with on a daily basis, but even for the world, because if we're connected energetically, then me operating in fear is energetically impacting everybody else. But if I can stay in love, then energetically I'm impacting other people as well, but it's from a place of love. Do you know what I mean? Um, and
Right.
so in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in that situation, I was able to stay really grounded in love, and I still do. I stay grounded in love. Um, and I have a wonderful relationship with that former client too, because I didn't judge her choice either. At the end of the day, she has to do what feels really good for her in the place that she's at. And again, all I did was send her and still send her love, right? Um, but when it comes to people closer to home, right, it's easier for me to fall off that gravy train of love, so to speak. And so I recently this week experienced a situation where somebody who's incredibly close to me was struggling with one of their parents, and I encouraged this person to be brave and have a tough conversation, to be honest about why they experienced anxiety in this other person's presence, and, you know, basically what they would be helpful for them to get their needs met so that they could interact in a healthier manner. And my loved one was super brave and went and had a tough conversation with their parent, and it was not received well, right? This person was not able to hear my loved one's feelings, or and immediately became defensive, which happens. And so my loved one came back to me incredibly angry because I challenged them to be brave and speak their truth, which, by the way, guys, I have a community called Having a Tough Conversation. Shameless plug, but the reality is it's super important to be able to advocate for your needs, even if the other person can't hear what you're saying. If you don't advocate for your needs, you're teaching your subconscious that you're not worthy of getting them met, and you are absolutely worthy of getting them met. Back to my story. um so this person was angry, and because they're so close to me, very close to me, um I started to feel badly, like I had messed up, that I had done something that now caused somebody that's near and dear to my heart to suffer even more. But then I paused, and this is where I'm going to encourage everybody listening to understand the importance of discipline or devotion to self. So I did feel, right? I started to come into fear. I started to feel guilty, feel like I had done something wrong. But because I know that when I start to feel icky, sticky, yucky, I need to pause and breathe, that's what I did. So I sat and I gave myself permission to take some deep inhalations, deep exhalations, and I was able to come back to love. And I was able to look at my loved one and say, I'm incredibly proud of you for being brave. Yes, it seemingly appears that it didn't work out the way you had hoped, and yet we don't know. But what I do know is you just told your subconscious, you just told your body, your nervous system, that you're worthy of advocating for your needs regardless of how your parent responded. And I was able to sit and love, but it took me a minute because, it's somebody I care about and they're suffering. And so I'm like taking it on, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to fix you, but I can't. But what I can do is love you through your suffering.
That's right. I think, and I might have shared that before, and that always comes to my mind. It's about that story that I heard from Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts, by the way.
I love Alan
Um,
Watts too.
but yeah, he was saying the story was going as something like that, like, let me help you set the monkey to the fish not drown by putting you up the tree. Because sometimes we don't see the bigger picture. We're not in that person's body. We're not living their life. Like, nobody knows you better than you know yourself. And you don't know what's right for you and what's not. And in jumping to conclusions and in doing different things is not actually helpful, because it's something that that person has to process on their own and find the balance within, because you can't know the one without knowing the other side. You have to experience both to know what you like and what you didn't like, and that way kind of towards your compass to whatever you want to go, what you like and where your bliss comes from, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because before we came live, we were talking about the fact that we absorb energy, and you and I have had this conversation numerous times. And it's so funny because I work, and I know a lot of people in the metaphysical world, and they're like, "What's the rush of figuring it out? We have lifetimes and lifetimes." I'm like, "Hell to the hell no! I already did the suffering. I'm good. Imma sit and enjoy now, right? And don't get me wrong, that's my journey. But when I am surrounded by people who are in struggle, I just exit. Like, don't get me wrong, I love you, and if you want me to support you, I will, but I'm not just gonna sit in that anxious stewing energy. And that does take, that's my personal preference at this point, because I wanna be able to sit and enjoy. And I know that by me protecting my energy, I'm then able to show up for my clients, for my community, for my children, from a place of love, rather than absorbing other people's energy and then kind of bringing it into the environments that I exist most often in.
And it can get like really spiraling down if you lose your center. At least to me, like I can agree with something that I believe not to be true. And I'm not saying that I'm always right or not. And if something becomes a true for me, I'll go and say, all right, before I was thinking that this is how I was, and now I have a new perspective, and I know that's not it. And so if there is something I can agree with somebody that it's maybe in the hole, and say, yeah, you're really in the hole, because like I'm seeing you're not in the hole. You know what I mean? This is where I'm going when I was going with that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, um, when you like to support somebody and you start agreeing, you're kind of shifting and you're going deeper in the hole, and you're not actually um, doing them any favor, and they're not doing you any favor, because you're both going in a spiral down journey.
You know what? It's so funny. So this past week, I joined the meeting. It's a recovery meeting that I used to go to. But a while ago, I'm like, this does not serve me. It's later at night already. My ability to protect my energy is not as strong because it's later at night, right? So I don't have that capacity. Um, and so I knew, I'm like, this does not serve me anymore, right? And so I was invited to go back this week, and I went on, and I'm like, why the hell did I come on here? And interestingly enough, every part of me kept telling me to jump off, and I never did. But I loved it, because after, I was like, oh, I'm just reminded. And here's the thing for anybody listening, I don't think I'm better or too good for anybody in that group. That is not why I don't like attending that group anymore. It's just that I come from a different place now. Like, I've moved out of that level um that I struggled in addiction, that malaise of, yes, you're sober, but it's hard to celebrate yourself and all this. And so I don't think I'm better, but I don't want to go back to where that back there. And I feel like by sitting in that group, I'm going back to a place that I haven't been in a long time. And so again, to your point, if I don't go to that meeting, but I sit in my chair and send all the people who join that meeting love, I'm actually benefiting them. They may never know it, but that's not the point. But the point is it's not impacting my energy where I drop off or go back to a place that I don't exist in anymore. It's not my truth anymore, right? So, and to your point, I think the more self-aware you become, the more you're able to live with like ambiguity. And what I mean is, it's not one way or the other. There's always gray, there's always shading, there's nothing that's concrete. And so what is true for me today is true, but it may not be true for me tomorrow. And that doesn't mean that I was wrong today, it just means that I unfolded. And that I see, is one of the biggest issues with, you know, a lot of our societies. We feel like it has to be black or white, it has to be concrete, it has to be right or wrong. You have to choose a country that's right and a country that's wrong. You have to choose, you know, and I don't believe that that is an accurate, that's not life, because there's so much gray, there's so much unknown, we can't possibly know.
Not only that, but when somebody comes to understanding that they're not separate from their environment, they're not this separate being, that it's out of the world and it's being thrown in the world, and he has to constantly struggle with the world to survive, then life becomes something else, because you're part of the world. Like everyone is part of the world. They're just seeing it differently. And when you become to understand that, I won't say oneness. A lot of people use oneness. It's really is oneness, because you're from the world. You're not like some blip or something that happened and somebody throw you in the world, and it's like, here it is, now you have to survive, you have to fight, you have to put the people down, and you do everything to struggle. It's no, it's, you're part of it. you're you're kind of like the drop in the water. You're constantly flowing and everything is changing. And I think that's kind of hard to understand, because our thinking minds always like to make sense of it, to keep us safe, and through even history to survive. When the tiger is there to get you, you're not going to sit and analyze the situation. You're just going to run for your life. So you know, and that's where I was going with that, because you're changing and you're flowing like the water, and those memories that come back that no longer serve you, because they're in the past. Whatever was happening, it happened. It's already done. It's gone. You had the chance to live in the now. Then that goes back in your memory, and that comes back, and it's trying to kind of paint a different picture of reality, so that you say, well, I had this experience and this is what's going on. But no, you're constantly a different person. You're constantly something else. You're constantly changing. Your body changes, your chemistry changes, your cells are changing. You're constantly moving through flow, and you're going. And once you come to the understanding of, you're not that, you're not anything, you're very special, because you're in this part. You're like the piece of the puzzle. If you take the piece out of the puzzle, the piece cannot be on whole again. You're one with everything. So there's no need to be anxious about anything, or to feel like you have to struggle with yourself, because everything itself, because you're part of it. You're not the separate being, even so you have the illusion that you are, if that
Mm.
makes any sense.
It does, and that's a practice, right? So for anybody who's like, "What is Yanko talking about?" I mean, it is a real practice, and I still get caught up in you know those past stories. But something you said that I'm gonna go on a quick tangent, so forgive me, and I'm gonna say something controversial, but
No, go ahead. That's why we're here.
so
I love
I'm gonna
it.
so the past month I've been called to start a show on mental health and addiction recovery, because I tell people I'm a mental health and addiction recovery coach, which I am. I work with a lot of people who struggle with both. And yet neither one of my shows touch upon those subjects. Here's the crux though, that you said that I love, that I'm going to bring to my show about addiction. Our society will label somebody with, I don't know, the bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, or they'll have, somebody will have an experience. That person now continues to create that experience their whole life, and they don't need to, right? Because to your point, did you have a mental health crisis? Absolutely. Am I taking that away? But are we drilling down to the root cause of why you had the mental health crisis? Because if we do, guess what? Crisis fucking averted, but because you're not suffering anymore, you're able to look at the old patterns and conditions and the behaviors that weren't serving you, that caused you to cycle into psychosis or neurosis, whatever. But we don't talk about that. We in the mental health society, and honestly with our physical health too, it's like, oh, you're struggling, let me just give you a pill, let me just keep giving you pills, or let's go to addiction. And this is why you caught me on a tangent, because I'm very passionate about this, and this is part of the reason why I had an issue being at the meeting this past week, right? This guy was so proud. He's like, yeah, I keep getting these coins and I celebrate. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm a big proponent of celebrating. I really am. Each day I didn't pick up 2 bottles of wine, celebrated. If I picked up 1 bottle of wine and not a second, celebrated. But if I continue to tell people with an emotional attachment to it that I struggle with addiction, that I have mental health issues, guess what? I'm going to struggle with addiction and I'm going to have mental health issues. But if I say, like, one, I release my attachment to that, right? I release that story. If I just say, well, one, you can't have the emotional attachment. I think that's important to highlight. But I moved through the suffering that caused me to even need to lean into addiction. I moved through the suffering that caused me to lay in bed for hours on end, to struggle with anxiety. And so I don't associate myself with those labels anymore. And I think that our society systemically keeps people sick and struggling with addiction because we keep them stuck in the episode that they had, rather than get them to experience this moment right here. And this moment is all you have. Like, so why not break free, heal, and then move out of that story? And that's a lot of what you were just saying. I moved out of those memories, and then when I was back into a place that brought them up, it felt icky because it was so, I'm so detached from that experience now.
Right. And I want to open a side note to let our viewers know that we're not doctors. We're not
Yes.
diagnosing people. And none of this stuff that we're talking about should be taken as a medical advice. If you're in psychosis and you need to see your
Yes.
doctor and take your pills, none of this stuff that we're saying, it's like, stop the pills and no, take care of yourself, look at mental health practitioners and all that, follow with your meds, and we're just, those are our opinions, and there should not be taken as any medical advice for anybody. If that makes any, does that make sense for
Yanko's
you? Because
covering his
that's how I see it.
I'm and I appreciate that, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, I agree with Yanko, right? So if you're struggling with depression, go on medication. I've been on antidepressants, guys. I've been on medication. I have no issue with medication. I have an issue with if you stay in the same experience 20 years and you haven't looked at why you've experienced depression, why you experience anxiety. Have you taken small actions to retrain your subconscious to trust yourself? And that's my issue. But I do understand that, Yanko's right. I'm not a doctor. But I also believe that we as individuals have a responsibility to ourselves to learn, to take action, and to get curious so that we can experience the best life we have, like, can possibly experience. And I don't see a ton of people encouraging others to go out there and do, to really get curious and see how different ways, different practices, different tools and strategies can help them long term so they're not stuck in suffering.
The way I see it, if I can use it as a metaphor, it's a growing of a child. You
Mm,
know, you're constantly moving because maybe the stream example with the water is not really relative, but like if you think of a child growing, you're going from different stages and you're constantly growing from life. You have a beginning and you have an end, and what you do in the middle, it's up to you. And like Kerri said, if you're curious about all the possibilities or anything, then wonderful things happen in life because you don't know.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're constantly growing, you're constantly learning new things. Your body constantly changes, and you're constantly shifting. And because you're part of the world, and if you look at the world and the universe, it's not stagnant. It always moves. There's new star systems, new things are coming, new things are going. Clouds are coming in the sky and they're going, and storms are coming, and everything it's moving, and it's dynamic and it's wonderful.
Well, and so here's the thing. You touched upon something that I was just sharing with a loved one yesterday is we are meant for growth, for expansion. We are. If we're not actively growing, then we're contracting. Right. And our spirit, our energy, our life force, our soul, whatever you want to call it, does not like that. And so what happens when you're if you're afraid and you're staying stuck in this one pattern, right, you're going to experience unexpected events, crashes, getting fired, whatever, to try to push you to grow and expand. It's just how it works because we are meant for growth and expansion. But if you're not actively doing that, then you're contracting. And I can't tell you, I went through this analogy with a person yesterday. Okay. I want you to think about in my teens, I struggled with sex and drug addiction. Cool. But I got out of it because I experienced a pretty traumatic event that I went through. But I didn't get to the root cause of the subconscious behaviors, right? So then in my 20s, I start drinking socially, and because I'm not doing work, I'm not learning myself, I'm not curious. By the 30s, I'm now drinking heavily and I'm leaning into other things. And so if you're not actively getting curious, and I'm not saying go quit the thing, don't quit the alcohol if it's but start to get curious. What else can I do that makes me feel as good as drinking on a Saturday night? Could be boxing, could be going for a hike, could be watching a movie with a friend. I don't know. But that's the point, is ask yourself, because then you learn yourself. And when you learn yourself, you expand and you grow and you're brave and you try new things. And that's super important. Like, I really believe that's what we're here to do, is we're here to learn and grow and expand.
I think, yeah, you're right about all that stuff that you're saying. I'm not disagreeing. Um, Everyone, it's moving and it's happening constantly. So why not move with the flow when you feel it, instead of resisting it and feel like you have to fight the world around you to survive, and like everybody is up to get you or something, or to pull you down, or anything like it. I contemplated on that idea of maybe going and just detaching from the world and sitting under a tree and becoming a Buddha. But guess what? The world will push you. The tree might fall on the top of you. The area might get flooded. Anything can happen. So it's it's not like that. So it's easier to move with the flow than against, and why not do that? I,
Yeah.
I that's why I'm gonna go with that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and it feels so good. I'll give you an example. I brought Billy, my youngest, to the store today, and walk in, and some guy stops me. He's like, wow, amazing tattoos. And we got to talking a little bit, and he said to me, my daughter has about $10,000 worth of tattoos, but it's better that she has tattoos than uses that money to drink or do drugs. And I was like, ironically, I work in the mental health and addiction space. And he walked up and gave me the biggest hug. This is a pure stranger, right? Gave me the biggest hug. Now, I received that. That's love. I'm like, dude, yes. My daughter is like, Ma, you're letting some strange dude hug you. Like, what is wrong with you? She at this point, she's kind of used to me, but she still always says, Mommy, you're crazy. But the point is, I went with the flow. I didn't resist. I didn't make up a story about this guy being a creeper or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I trust my intuition, people. So I know when I need to cross the street because there's somebody that is not energetically coming from a place that feels good for me. But I also trust myself to be like, oh, dude, you know what I mean? And so I had a great experience because I just went with how the moment unfolded rather than having my ego come up and be like, oh, this is a stranger who's walking up to give you a hug and stay away, which is what I would have done for sure 15 years ago. I'd have been like, dude, you better back off. We about to fight. No thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say, when you know, like it doesn't have to be woo woo, and it doesn't have to be energetic. You're just kind of like, when you're one with the environment and you're not a separate being, like I was just talking in. Maybe that'll be the theme of today's show. But for example, when you get on the bus with many other people, you don't know everybody in the bus, but some people look like they're fun to be around, and other people look like they might be scammy or something. And then other people feel differently and look differently. So all of us have those compass, like the compass inside that like guide you to understand. And so it doesn't have to be um, energetic or new age anything. Um, and what I'm trying to say with that is that, when you're part of the whole, you're kind of feeling yourself. You're feeling those people because they're the puzzle pieces next to you. So you kind of like look and say, oh, all right, this is maybe more bluish than reddish on the other side or whatever. And so you kind of know what's going on.
Well, so it's interesting you say that. So one, I would say I really try, and I'm not perfect at this by any means, but I really do try not to make assumptions based on people's looks, right? Because it can be deceiving. Me and Nana make so many people nervous. So many people, but I believe myself to be one like a very loving person. I can sit and have a conversation with a stranger. I love meeting new people, but a lot of people look at me. I love skulls, so 90% of the time I have a skull on. I'm covered in tattoos, whatever, and they make an assumption. And then the same with Nana, right? He is a very jacked black guy, and a lot of people at the gym are very intimidated by him, and it's because of looks. But the minute they talk to us, they're like, whoa, you're nothing like we expected. And so I really try not to, you know make an assumption based on people's looks. But to your point, we all have the ability to discern. You know what I mean? When you said, when we're one, we're always one, guys. Like, we are all connected, whether or not you're aware of it, we're connected. So it's not that, it's that when you are conscious about it, you really do have the ability to tap in and you just feel safe. Like, and I'm not like, oh, the world is perfect. No, but I feel safe in my ability to discern and be guided to what is going to be in my highest good rather than put me in a place that is going to create and cause me fear, and put me in danger. And that's where the work comes from, and that's why I'm so passionate about learning yourself, guys. We're all individuals. As a coach, I don't sit here and say, I have a program that you're going to go through. And by the end of the program, you're going to have life figured out and you're going to be amazing. Bull crap. That's crap. What I do is I hold space for you to get curious about yourself, and I give you all different tools and strategies and practices so that over a course of time, to your point with like puzzle pieces, you plug and play. So maybe what works for me doesn't work for you, but you've had all of these different practices and learnings that eventually you're like, oh, I know this feels good for me, and oh, this don't feel good for me. And then you know yourself, and then you know whether getting a hug from the guy in a random store is going to feel good for you, or if you're like, you cool do, but back off, right? And that's why it's so important, and why I continuously tell people, do the work. Do the work, because I may not be an expert on medication, I may not be an expert on addiction, but I damn sure am an expert on doing the work and learning myself. My whole life is about just being me, and it's a really liberating and free place to live in.
Yeah, in maybe I didn't say it properly. I wasn't referring to looks
Well, there's
only.
no proper,
Like
you know
you
that.
just like there is a how do I say that? There's just like inner knowing. You just kind of know.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't always not only work with like a bus example or pretty much you can be in different situations. You can be in a party and you might feel the vibe of the party. And you might say, well, I'm vibing with it, or maybe I'm not vibing with it. Maybe it's not my cup of tea. So it all depends, really. And yeah, so I wasn't like saying, oh, just don't judge by the looks or whatever. Just
I do know, but
it's
I wanted to clarify, and I'm gonna give you a I was laughing yesterday. So I had to go to the Connecticut DMV. I'm there for 2.5 hours, which in the moment I kept it was a practice of continuing to choose love, which I wasn't always good at in the moment. Like I was getting irritated because I'm there forever. But anyway, so after having to wait for however long I had to get up to the counter, it was evident from the jump. Now, mind you, I had by that time I had sat and meditated. I was calm. I was happy. I'm like, blah, blah. It was so evident that the woman at the counter, for whatever reason, did not vibe me. She was just like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, and as kind as I was, and as much as I worked to try to just, connect with her, she was like, she honestly did almost everything she could to try to prevent me to get what it was I needed to get done while I was there. But and I felt it. And at first I was starting to make an assumption, oh, she doesn't like me because this, and this. And I'm like, nope, I don't know why. All I can do is choose to stay in loving kindness and just choose to do that. Because I could have gone and matched her energy, but it wouldn't have served me because I probably wouldn't have gotten my needs met. And I would have felt badly after because I don't want to be a jerk. But secondly, if I could stay in love and kindness, if nothing else, maybe even though she did not connect with my energy or whatever, I bothered her, maybe I could plant the seed of kindness that would then take her through the rest of the day and help her be kind towards other people.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. And you don't know what you don't know.
It's a profound answer.
Exactly. Like you go on and you don't know what you don't know. Like there's so many things, and I used to be like that when I was young. I won like maybe they're going through something. Maybe this person, maybe they're going through divorce, maybe they're not. There's so many millions of reasons they can be in a bad mood. They can be having something else that happened to them in life, and and that's what I'm saying. You don't know what you don't know, because like then you make an assumption based on your memories and based on your experiences, and and then the separation happens, and then you're like, okay, they're against me, we have to fight, we have to struggle, I have to convince them to do this, they have to whatever. No, none of that has to happen. It just is. It's happening. And honestly, if I'm in this kind of situation, I would probably just, laugh, because it's like when situations like that happen, I'm like, okay, we're having a one time situation. So I am in it, and it's like going to a concert. You enjoy the concert, you enjoy the music, you go with the flow, and you're like, yeah, this is happening. It's great. So it doesn't have to be a negative experience. You can be enjoying that experience when it's unfolding, because the negative and positive, it's something that we do as humans. We like to color different things to make sense to us and to others.
Yeah.
So that's how I'll do it. I'll probably say, you don't know what you don't know, because you're sitting there. Might as well enjoy the experience, right?
Yeah, and you know what? For the most part, I did. And interestingly enough, I was highly amused. I'm like, well, this is an interesting situation, because I had to stay there for like 30 minutes, you know. But something you said that I want to emphasize for people too is, and I just had this conversation with somebody earlier. If you walk into a space and it feels you can leave, and you don't need to make up a story as to why you're leaving. And I say this a lot because so often the way our mind thinks is we need to make up a story. Oh, that person's bad, or oh, that was not great. We, to your point, we don't know what we don't know. But the one thing we do know is this situation doesn't feel good for me, and so I'm going to exit, right? and and I think so often people, and myself included, I mean, god, right, I knew on Wednesday I didn't want to stay in this meeting, but I stayed. um like we get sucked into this. Oh, I gotta stay, I don't want to be rude, or I don't know what, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm making things up. And the thing is, and the way I truly live my life, I really do, is if it doesn't bring me joy, 90% of the time, I'm exiting stage left. Now I'm a mom. I have brothers and sisters. I have parents, all this stuff. It's not like I check out of my life. But if a situation is feeling icky, sticky, yucky, I'm just walking away. And then I'll come back to it when I am in a better place or whatever. Because that I know full well that my role in this world is to sit and enjoy, and that's what I'm going to do to the best of my ability. So, to your point, I did sit and laugh
But
while
you
I
you
was at
you
the
need you need you needed that reminder, though. That's why you sat through the whole thing, because you needed that
yeah,
experience. You
that's so
needed that
good.
reminder, because sometimes you flip from the balance and you're like, did I forget how this feels like? Let me go see. No, now I know. Now
Yep,
I'm not doing it again.
yep, you're right. And that's where like sifting and sorting and figuring it out. And that's the thing, guys. Like Yanko and I don't have it figured out. Like every day, he and I text back and forth, and we're going through life stuff. And I think, to bring this back full circle, and something you said earlier, I would really encourage all of you out there to look at your circle, look at the people who are around you, and do you have a person or two people or three people who can hold space for you but not get sucked into your story, and also keep it real with you? Because that to me is such a beautiful gift. And fortunately for me, I have a lot of people, Yanko being one of them, that'll be like, is that really true right now, or is that just you? And he stays in a high vibration, which is important, because that then keeps me from sinking super low. So if there are people who just bring you joy, and even if you don't know it, I say hang out with them, because they're going to help you continue to learn and maintain that energy that just feels really good. And in that energy, you learn yourself too. You don't have to go and sit on a couch for years and years. You learn yourself through experience and through the, just being present in the moment.
We're all helping each other get home. That's the bottom line. I hold space for you. You hold space for me. Yep.
All
Yeah.
right, Yanko, you got any parting thoughts for our beautiful community? Besides the fact that we're
Next.
not doctors.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of times when I talk with people, and that's my personal experience, they look up to me as a person of knowledge, and I'm sharing my experience. And that's why sometimes, if something that I share comes from my experience, I say, this is my experience. And if it comes from knowledge or something, like the Alan Watts part, I'll say this is where I get this from. And so I don't want people to think I have authority over anybody and I know everything. And I'm just like anybody else. I put my fence, one leg at a time. So I don't want people that stumble around our video to think that just because we share our thoughts and ideas and everything, they have to follow what we're saying because we're not doctors. I can't advise you in like medical issues or anything that you're struggling with. Uh, a lot of people are going through things just like we're going through things ourselves. Things are happening in life, and that's why I felt like I wanted to address that as a part that, you know, this is our advice. Take it if you will, but do your own due diligence. Just go
Yes,
verify,
always.
check it out, and do a little research. Like a lot of the times I'll get something, I'll get an idea, the universe will send me something, I'll meet somebody, they'll say something, and I'll go like, that might be an interesting thing I want to research. And then I'll go and I'll start digging into it and see if there is any validity to it, or how does it feel to me, or anything like it. And so that's why I said what I said.
I love it. And you're not wrong. I'm not, but I think it's, again, I think it's, yeah, we could go down a whole drain on this. So we'll just leave it at that. And I think it's beautiful. What would you like to leave our audience with?
I would like to tell people to fill their oneness with everything next time they go outside. Even if they go in a walk, be the walk, feel the bush around, feel the clouds in the sky, maybe feel the water around you, maybe feel the squirrels or any wild animals, and maybe if there's a deer on the road that comes and blinks at you, blink back at it. Just enjoy life. We're all one. We're all connected.
Mm,
So
beautiful.
try that experience.
Yeah. And for me, guys, I'm going to say it again. I always say it. Find what brings you joy and chase that, because that will bring you a peace that I personally believe is indescribable. I really do. So, until next time, guys, please feel free to leave your comments, your thoughts, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Any and all, thoughts are welcome. And I really appreciate all of you for joining in. Please share if you found this video at all helpful, or if not, anything else entertaining and thought provoking. And we will see you next week for no particular reason.
Yeah, and if you like to be in the show, contact us. We'll like to bring you in, have a conversation, not only with comments or anything, just let us know. We're here for you. And that really helps us see where we're taking our show so we can better bring content that you enjoy and enjoy watching. And that's pretty much it.
Until next time.